Good evening, Florida, and welcome to Coastal Conservative News. I'm Allie Leger.
And I'm Michelle Posey. Tonight, we're bringing you the top stories shaping the Sunshine State, the ones that matter to families like you, business owners, and patriots who care about our communities and our freedoms.
From crime and public safety to community culture, health, and the environment, we're taking you across Florida to see what the mainstream media won't show you. Let's get into it.
We start tonight with a story that's making waves nationwide. Florida's Attorney General James Uthmeier has opened a criminal investigation into the online gaming platform Roblox after reports of widespread child exploitation and predation on the site. Oh my goodness.
The AG says Roblox knowingly created a predatory environment for children, and Florida will lead the way in holding big tech accountable. Parents across the state are praising the move, calling it long overdue protection for kids in the digital age.
Wow. And in Sarasota County, deputies are investigating a fatal shooting that left one man dead. No suspects have been named, but Sheriff Kurt Hoffman is calling for stronger local partnerships to help curb violent crime before it strikes.
And finally, a Texas man was arrested for making anti-Semitic threats targeting Jewish conservatives in Florida.
Wow.
Investigators say he used online platforms to threaten violence. Attorney General Uthmeier has stated Florida will never tolerate hate or ideological intimidation, no matter where it originates.
I love that. Turning to community, Southwest Florida is celebrating unity and heritage as the International Culture Festival returns to Fort Myers, showcasing over 20 national traditions through music, food, and art.
And up in Clearwater, wrestling legend Hulk Hogan is once again making headlines, this time with a trail named in his honor. The new Hulk Hogan Trail along Clearwater Beach pays tribute to his local roots and commitment to health and youth programs.
He's greatly missed, greatly missed. And across Tampa Bay, families gathered for fall festivals this weekend, from Oktoberfest at Curtis Hickson Park to the Tarpon Springs Sponge Docks Craft Festival. Local vendors say the turnout exceeded expectation. We had great weather. I mean, it felt a little like fall here.
Right.
A sign that Florida's economy is strong, that the local economy is strong, and that family first spirit is still here in Florida.
Absolutely. Now, Florida's Department of Health announced a $50 million annual loan program designed to help healthcare innovators expand access and affordability. The Health Innovative Fund will empower clinics, providers, and startups to tackle workforce shortages without relying on federal bureaucracy.
Problem solvers. I like that. And in Duval County, the DOH launched its Preventing Health Scares initiative, offering free screenings and community education throughout October. Now, local leaders say prevention is key to lowering emergency room strain.
Absolutely. Now, meanwhile, Hillsborough County is observing Lead Poisoning Prevention Week, reminding parents to get their homes and water tested, especially in older neighborhoods. It's a simple step that can save lives and protect our kids' health.
Absolutely. Florida's conservation leadership took another significant step this week. Governor Ron DeSantis highlighted a record-setting success in the state's invasive python removal program for the Everglades. Oh, my skin crawls a little bit.
The partnership between the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission and private firm Inversa has tripled the number of Burmese pythons removed over the past year. In July 2025 alone, we had 748 pythons were captured, compared with 235 in July 2024.
How are you going to sleep with the lights off, Floridians? I just want to ask that. Oh, my gosh. Governor DeSantis said the $2 million initial investment must continue. And you know what? I'm going to agree with him on this one. Calling for annual funding to build on what he called a, quote, proven strategy to protect the Everglades for many years to come, end quote.
Now, Burmese pythons are invasive.
Don't tell me they're friendly.
They're invasive, but, you know. And the ecological stakes are clear. Burmese pythons prey on native mammals, birds, and reptiles, disrupting Florida's unique biodiversity. Every snake removed means more food for the native predators like panthers and alligators and more balance in our wild places. They are invasive. So.
Okay, so everybody agrees.
Yeah.
This isn't just environmentalism, it's pragmatic stewardship. Florida is showing that you can protect our wildlife and support local economies and jobs tied to conservation efforts. Programs like this prove conservation doesn't require compromise, it demands action.
And it's not partisan.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was another big weekend this weekend for Florida sports fans. In college football, the Florida Gators edged out Mississippi State 23-21. What a close game. While USF took down Florida Atlantic 21-6 in Tampa.
And in high school football, some nail biters across the state. South Walton defeated Wakulla 38-35 in double overtime. Oh my gosh, how exciting. Yeah. And Flagler Palm Coast upset Yulee with a commanding 42-14 win. Meanwhile, Palmetto took home bragging rights in their Cross River rivalry, beating Manatee 31-13.
Absolutely.
Way to go, guys.
That's right. Football in Florida isn't just a pastime. It's a passion that builds discipline, teamwork, and local pride.
And brings all the parents together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And now to the Space Coast, where SpaceX hit a major milestone, launching its 10,000th Starlink satellite from Cape Canaveral last Sunday. That launch carried 28 more satellites into orbit, expanding global internet access and creating hundreds of high-tech jobs here in Florida.
Wow. In Melbourne, Dassault Aviation opened a brand new MRO facility, bringing 400 high-paying aerospace jobs right here to Brevard County. Now, officials say this solidifies Florida as America's commercial aviation capital. We like that.
And at the University of Florida, researchers launched a 40,000 square foot AI hub dedicated to helping farmers use data and automation to improve yields and conserve water, showing how Florida innovation is shaping the future of agriculture.
I love that. I love that.
From the Space Coast to Sarasota, from our farms to our football fields, Floridians are building, innovating, and protecting what matters most.
Absolutely. Florida is leading with faith, courage, and common sense, proving again why it's the free state of Florida in America.
Absolutely. That's your week in review for Coastal Conservative News. I'm Alan Leggett.
And I'm Michelle Posey. Guys, stay strong, stay free, and God bless the great state of Florida. And now here is your Suncoast Community segment with Raj Doraisamy.
Good evening. This is Raj Doraisamy with Coastal Conservative News. We have yet another development in the story we've been covering about what appears to be improprieties within one of the most powerful parties in the country. We're talking about the Republican Party of Florida, which arguably is one of the most influential and powerful parties in the country. And sadly, the topic of this segment is senior Republican officials contributing money to Democrat candidates where the Democrat candidates actually won. How is this even allowed to happen? Is the Trump administration even remotely aware of this kind of backhanded swamp activity? We don't know, because in this segment, you'll also hear how Laura Trump is going to be participating in activities surrounding this problem. So you got to listen to this interview to talk about this very disturbing topic, where I'm very privileged to have David Kalin on this, with us again. David, as you know from previous interviews, is no stranger to any of the topics we're discussing. David, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. This is a very disturbing thing to be discussing here in the state of Florida. This is not Colorado. This is not California. It's unbelievable that this is happening here. But for those people who are just meeting for the first time, you're a leader in Charlotte County. You're a businessman. You help with volunteer activities on a number of fronts. So I appreciate you being here. We're going to get into a little bit of David's background here in a little bit in this interview. But David, let's go ahead and get started with really the fact that you recently, after seeing what you've seen, You actually resigned from a position. So please tell the people the position you had held and why you felt compelled to resign.
First, Raj, thanks for having me on tonight. I wish it was on a more joyous kind of conversation, but I was actually, up until last night, I was the chairman for the Charlotte County Republican Executive Committee, which is the GOP for Charlotte County. In years past, our committee was pretty much dysfunctional, infighting. Even invited you to come over, take a look at what we had once I had been voted in. It was a unanimous vote as my chairmanship. We changed the way we did business. We worked with other local conservative groups. We worked within the rules of the RPOF, even though they're ever getting more stringent. We still found ways to work within those rules to be more effective at getting quality leaders into our community, as well as drawing people in for those boots on the ground, fundraising, other events. But beyond that, we were working into the community with more than just fundraising. It was about bringing awareness and getting families involved. So starting at a young age all the way up for what we stand for as Republicans here in Florida. That apparently has ruffled a lot of feathers. And as we're seeing across the state, chairmen are being removed. And generally, it's either MAGA, America First folks that are getting removed, or entire executive committees being dismantled, such as Manatee County. Know many of those folks up there, good folks, quality people that you want on your team if you're trying to effectuate change to stay conservative. So there were a number of grievances filed against me by Bill Helmick, our executive director of the Republican Party of Florida, citing things such as, well, having you speak at one of my meetings and me coming and speaking at your meetings. I was recruiting, bringing people in, speaking on fundraising, ways to get into the community. Additionally, we, in the fundraising thing, talked about the advertisements we do. We actually generate revenue for advertising for businesses, as well as our chartered and non-chartered clubs. So that's bringing money into that REC so we can be more effective as leaders in our community. And that is exactly what they went after me for. And I filed rebuttals. They came back at it again, looking for what else can we find that you did. And ultimately, in this last round, I gave a statement. Here's where we're at. No rules were violated, spelled out the rules for them. And at the same time, knew this witch hunt was not going to stop. So I gave my resignation to the RPOF, effective end of business yesterday, because it would have been my last meeting with them. So we could have some continuity to the next board that's coming in. That way everybody's on the same page. I think that is a very smart move to do. However, they would not accept my resignation and actually on Monday terminated me as the chairman and removed me.
Yeah. And we're going to come into an explanation, friends, about why they did that. And you're going to see what appears to be a systematic pattern to what looks like inappropriate behavior at the minimum on what is going on. So we're going to come back to why they didn't accept David's resignation. Now let's jump forward. You mentioned a board meeting that you referenced to just a minute ago, and this is a regularly scheduled board meeting. These are board meetings. These are meetings that are for the benefit of the Republican Executive Committee. It's a business meeting, and it's a typical board meeting that you probably, the folks that are watching, have maybe attended in your professional career. Now, there was someone that was invited to this board meeting. Let me rephrase. There was someone who was present at this board meeting that normally is not there. So let's talk about who showed up at this board meeting. What were they doing at this board meeting, David?
Well, I'm not going to give her name directly. I think everybody in Southwest Florida knows who I'm talking about, but she showed up as a representative of the RPOF. And I did have a letter prepared that the now acting chair, the vice chair, read to the body. And the folks from the body had a lot of questions because they know my character. They know what we're doing there. They know what I stand for. And she was asked, will you embellish or will you indulge us in some questions? She refused to answer questions. So I think the RPF realizes they're up against a wall at the local level. My concern now for the body there at the REC, they actually last night voted, other than one dissenter, who is an individual I called out that's been working with the RPOF, they voted to send a letter to the RPOF requesting my immediate reinsertion as the chairman in Charlotte County. My concern for them, that's going to get them disbanded like they did to Manatee County. They're not compliant.
So I want to draw some distinctions here. The Charlotte County Republican Executive Committee has been exemplary in its conduct. They are raising money to forward the Republican brand and Republican candidates in Charlotte County. They're expanding their membership. So the state entity, Republican Party of Florida, sends a representative to record what is taking place there. She had a video camera. And then when the members of the board meeting that are elected by the people in Charlotte County, this is a very representative form of government. The people in Charlotte County elect their board members. When they ask a question of the representative from the state, she declines to answer. So we can see that the behavior in terms of what we have discussed so far is very antithetical to any kind of Republican democracy, republic operation. The Republican Party of Florida, with regard to what we've discussed so far, is behaving in a way contrary to democratic values. But there's more to come. Please, watch the rest of this, because we have some information on Laura Trump and what we're talking about here, and you're going to find that disturbing. We're still going to be talking about senior elected officials in the Republican Party donating to Democrat candidates, where those Democrat candidates actually won. They defeated Republican candidates. So there's still more to come in this segment. So let's talk about kind of recap from the last segment we did on this, where in the last segment, if you didn't watch it, please go to Coastal Conservative News on all social media, and you will see a segment describing what appears to be conflicts, either with tax law or voting law. We don't know. Attorneys and judges and law enforcement will have to figure that out. With regard to Mr. Bill Helmick, and so that continues now. So David, we have now been given information about David Ramba. So let me set the stage here why this is very important. Mr. Ramba is the owner of Ramba Consulting, one of the most powerful lobbying groups in the state of Florida. He's highly effective. He is a state committee man, as you'll hear a little bit about that. He's also the executive director of the Florida Supervisor of Election, which means he essentially he runs the Florida Supervisor of Elections. This is the association of the top election officers in every county in the state of Florida. This group is very powerful. They have a tremendous amount of influence on the Secretary of State, Court Byrd. They have a tremendous amount of influence on legislators. When we go to Tallahassee, often we are told, when working with legislators on election reform, we're often told that they are only going to follow the directives of the Florida Supervisors of Election. The Secretary of State, Court Byrd, takes the same approach. So this is a very powerful organization. And at the driver's seat of this organization is the executive, Mr. Mr. David Ramba. So, David, can you talk about the information that's been brought to us regarding David Ramba's role?
Okay, so when you find out there's a bit of a tangled web that has been woven here in the relationships between Evan Power, who is the chairman of the Republican Party of Florida, Bill Helmick, who is the executive director of the Republican Party of Florida, and Dave Ramba, who, as you put it, is the executive director for Ramba Consulting and Florida Supervisors of Election Incorporated, but as well as a committeeman for the Republican Party out of Leon County. So there's a lot of clout here. But when you start to realize the connections that Mr. Ramba is making donations in, I picked one county. I jumped into Palm Beach, and all I did was a quick search on his name donating money. It brings up a list of donations. Then I cross-reference those to races that money went to, individuals' names. They're all Democrats. So now we have somebody who's supposedly a Republican, who himself directly or his company is donating directly to Democrat candidates who, by the way, when you look at the records, won the races. This is actually a violation of the rules of procedure. The Florida GOP rules of procedure, it's a direct violation of that. You are not allowed to do so. Yet somehow he retains his position. His affiliation with Mr. Helmick is one that is a very strange one, that Mr. Helmick actually lives in Leon County with a homesteaded home, which you had previously had on another segment. But what we found is the home that he claims to live in Madison County is owned by none other than Mr. David Ramba. And there you have Bill Helmick registered to vote in Madison County. He is a state committee in Madison County, yet the two homes are about 30 miles apart, which it's not a hardship that I'm traveling halfway across the state and need someplace to stay. It's a further distance within our own county when I go to meetings. You start to look how this is all twisted together with Evan Power, the chairman of the Republican Party of Florida. He works for Ramba, the lobbyist and an attorney. So what I see happening here, it starts to paint a picture that looks like an internal coup within the Republican Party to take leadership roles, get rid of conservatives such as MAGA and America First leaders within the local Republican parties, donate money to Democrat candidates and get them elected at the local level. It's a bottom-up transforming of Florida from red to blue that I don't think anybody's paying attention to. This is very concerning because this is not old information. These donations, some of them were made in this last election cycle, 2024. That's very concerning as a conservative here in Florida. Our president needs to know what's going on. The Trumps need to know what's going on. And Laura needs to know what she's walking into in Manatee County for her event that's coming up, because I believe this is an internal coup to take Florida blue.
So you unpacked a lot there, David, a huge amount, and so let's put that on so folks can follow how and see how critical this is. So, with regard to the residence, here is a residence here. This is the residence, and it's owned by David Ramba. You can see that right there. We're going to talk about Laura Trump here in just a moment. I want to go back to the voting that you mentioned earlier, where you talked about specific individuals that got benefited from David Ramba's contributions. Could you run through those names again, and I'll try to put them on the screen.
Well, in this most recent cycle, Bobby Powell Jr. For District 7 County Commissioner in Palm Beach, that's Trump's area. That gentleman is a registered Democrat and won his race. As you can see right there, straight from the website of the Supervisor of Elections, it shows exactly his party affiliation, and he won his race. You get into a previous cycle back in 2016, Dave Kerner, also a Democrat. You've got Matt Wilhite, a number of these people receiving these donations. Lori Beth Berman. These are all people that are registered Democrats that have won their races and are now sitting in office, but they were funded by Republicans. That's concerning.
And you can see here additional names here as well. And again, all of these people here are referenced, as you saw earlier, in this list, which is a list that shows the contributor. Not only is Ramba Consulting making donations, but Ramba Law Group is making donations as well. Now, we've been talking about Laura Trump. How does she fit into all of this? Well, regrettably, what is attempted to be done in Charlotte County, as you heard, where now they have fired David Kalin, and now his board is asking or demanding that he be reinstated because of the way he has conducted himself in Charlotte County on behalf of the Republican brand, on behalf of Republican candidates. They might also be dismissed. Why would we make that allegation? Why would we make that statement? Well, the Republican Party of Florida, the state entity, again, run by Bill Helmick, Evan Powers, they already did this in Manatee County. They have a litany of reasons justifying their actions. They already disbanded the entire Republican Executive Committee in Manatee County. And then they, in Tallahassee, installed a new set of leaders, not the folks that were voted on by the people in Manatee County, but this is a hand-selected group of people that were selected. And so I'm going to put on the screen here why we are asking ourselves, why on earth, given all of this, is Laura Trump coming as a special guest to the Manatee County Trump Day dinner on January 29th, 2026? Is it conceivable that she and her team are ignorant of the collusion, apparent collusion, that these documents are suggesting? Is she ignorant of how the entire leadership in Manatee County was disbanded by the state? Is she ignorant of the firing of David Kalin and many other county elected officials? We don't know. All we know is that Laura Trump is going to be at the Manatee County Trump Day dinner, run now not by the people elected in Manatee County, but run by a selected group of people that have been selected by the state GOP. So we only have questions, we don't have answers. Now, earlier on, you heard us talk about how the GOP refused to honor David Kalin's resignation, and they were insistent on instead firing him. Why would that be? Now remember, these are unpaid positions. This is a volunteer position. Why would they take that position? So David, could you please explain why likely they needed to fire you instead of accept your resignation?
I'd like to explain on that one as well. With a resignation, I could be voted right back in by the membership. It would wipe out the grievances because I was no longer a member, then voted in as a new member again, and I could be voted in as chair. They could not have that. So what they did is they chose to ignore the resignation letter, terminate me, and bar me from anything Republican activity for 2 years. So even if I wanted to go back to that committee right now under RPOF edict, I cannot go back. That is why they did what they did. It's to make it hurt, and it's to make it last. You cannot have effective leaders running a party when you're trying to undermine it and flip the state blue. That's my belief as to what this is about.
So as you know from our previous episode, we did contact Bill Helmick, who was the subject of our previous recording here. We'll contact David Ramba as well. We'll try to do that as well, and see if he has another side of the story here. I encourage you to, if you haven't already, go to coastalconservativenews.com. And when you go to coastalconservativenews.com, what you'll see is you'll see links. This is the website right here, coastalconservativenews.com. We're a small news organization. The only difference is we are reporting on the stuff that you, if you're watching this, probably haven't heard of from any other place. But if you go to coastalconservativenews.com, go down to the links here. You can watch on YouTube the previous episodes, including interviews with David Kalin, including interviews where we covered the RPOF issue that we've been talking about here. You can also do the same thing on Facebook and check that out there as well. So please do take advantage of that. Most importantly, I'm requesting you, if this is a topic that you care about, if you, regardless of your party affiliation, regardless of your political ideology, if you feel that our elected officials need to be transparent, need to be held to account, if you feel that way, then please share this interview with David Kalin to everyone in your Signal group, in your Facebook group, in your Telegram group, in your WhatsApp group. Please help get the word out about this kind of behavior. This, my friends, is exactly how California, which was a stronghold for Republican values, this is how that state went from being such a bright light in our country to being the dark, dysfunctional, politically corrupt, bought-off environment that it is today. If you don't want that to happen in Florida, please help get the word out about all of these topics we're talking about. David, I really appreciate your time and your courage. I know your workday. In fact, you're right there in one of your greenhouses there, just jamming this interview in because you're a working man. And I really appreciate you coming and putting a light on this, David. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Keep up the good work.
Friends, again, this is Raj Doraisamy, and David's got websites up. If you want to get in touch with him, you can definitely do that. But please help create accountability and honor in our Republican political system, because we have people here that are just trying to dissolve all of that, and we can't have that happen. Thanks, David. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raj, for that ongoing update about the developing story about the Republican Party of Florida fighting against Florida citizens. We'll be right back after this short break. From the heart of Marietta, Georgia, comes a tribute to the spirit of liberty. Liberty Cigars, where history meets craftsmanship. Each cigar tells a story. The Founders Collection honors the visionaries who shaped a nation. The President's House Collection celebrates the leaders who steered it. And the Naval Series salutes the heroes who defended it. Handcrafted with precision, each blend mirrors the essence of its namesake. From the boldness of George Washington to the elegance of Thomas Jefferson. Indulge in a moment of reflection. Light a Liberty cigar and savor the legacy. Discover your story at libertycigars.com, because every great nation deserves a great cigar. Liberty Cigars, smoke the history. And don't forget to use promo code OPENMIC for 10% off your order. Welcome back to CCN, Coastal Conservative News. Now let's turn from Florida's community happenings to Florida's leadership. It's time for Political Pulse. Good evening, Florida. Welcome to Political Pulse on Coastal Conservative News. I am Allie Leger.
And I'm Michelle Posey. Tonight, major moves by Governor Ron DeSantis, key action from Attorney General James Uthmeier, and bold oversight of our state government. Let's dive in.
We begin with a big win for Florida families. Governor DeSantis announced nearly $1 billion in auto insurance refunds. Hey. Guys, that's refunds for Florida policyholders thanks to reforms in our insurance market. Florida's top 5 auto insurers groups have averaged over a 6% rate reduction in 2025, the governor declared in Sarasota.
Right here in our backyard. This is exactly the kind of results-driven governance our viewers expect. Rate relief, more insurers competing, less litigation.
And the governor noted that Progressive will issue these rebates to its Florida policyholders, averaging roughly $300 per policy.
Okay, next, let's tackle the homeowners insurance policy.
Yes.
This sends a message, guys. When you embrace free market principles, you reward the consumer, that's you, not special interest trial attorneys.
Absolutely.
Next, Florida's top law and order official is striking hard online. AG Uthmeyer announced he's issued criminal subpoenas to Roblox, calling the platform a breeding ground for predators, and I'm quoting him, that endangered children.
Yes, his words, quote, "They enable our kids to be abused." Wow. He laid out his case on social media.
By stepping in, Florida isn't waiting for Washington, D.C. They're protecting our children now, and I'm sure Washington, D.C. will probably follow.
Oh, absolutely. I believe I've read a few things that they're working on. And this comes on the heels of the AG's office also announcing arrests of illegal aliens who attacked Florida Highway Patrol troopers, border enforcement, and online predators, both tackled under the same rule of law banner.
Wow.
Now we turn from Tampa, or we'll turn to Tampa, and the Hillsborough County State Delegation meeting held Tuesday, October 21st, where 2 big governance bills stirred debate, both up for voter approval in the future, and both targeting how our local government and schools are run.
These are not small tweaks. One would let voters elect the school district's superintendent. The other would expand the county commission in 9 single-member districts. Big changes, big questions. Let's break them down. The first bill, introduced by Michael Owen, would shift the Hillsborough County Public Schools superintendent from an appointed position by the school board to a voter-elected role subject to a referendum.
Owen told the delegation, quote, "I believe personally the parents should choose what the CEO of their children's education is, but this will go for the voters to decide in the next election," end quote.
On the other side, the teachers union, Hillsborough Classroom Teachers Association, pushed back. President Rob Crete warned, quote, "We run the risk of electing someone that doesn't have the context or the history of really what it takes to run a school system," end quote.
Well, this is very interesting because it lays out what those qualifications are in our Constitution, in the Florida State Constitution, and in the job description for a superintendent. The key takeaways for this were Republicans framed this as parental accountability and voter control, and Democrats and board supporters frame it as a safeguard for professionalism and stability in education leadership. Now, there were talks of this not being political. Schools are not supposed to be political. We both had Danny Burgess, who is a sitting senator, mentioned that that ship has sailed a long time ago.
Right.
And he does believe that the voters should choose.
That's interesting. Either way, if passed, this bill still needs approval by the legislature and then must go to Hillsborough voters in a referendum, not automatic implementation.
So that's key there.
Absolutely.
Next up, another bill from Michael Owen, representative. This one would amend the county charter to expand the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners from 7 members to 9 single-member districts, greatly altering representation and governance structure.
Wow. Supporters argue smaller districts mean more responsive government, 1 commissioner per district, fewer constituents per seat, and clearer accountability.
But critics, including several Democrat delegates and civic rights groups, warned of 2 major risks: the added cost of more officials and staff, and the danger of map gerrymandering influencing who wins those seats and how minority representation is handled.
You know, Allie, this is very interesting. I wonder sometimes if because of our growth in population, if that doesn't mean maybe we now need more representation.
We absolutely do. I mean, there has been more influx in Hillsborough County than we've seen previously, and we definitely need more representation. With 9 members, it's easier to contact and go visit and meet them. They have the time to answer phone calls and emails and meet with people in the district. And our Constitution is the equalizer.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter what your skin color is or what background you are. If you have a member that you can actually talk to, you'll get more done.
It'd be interesting to see what happens. And because this is a charter change, it too must clear the legislature and then go to a countywide referendum of Hillsborough voters. It's not automatic, but if it wins, it will reshape how local power works here and in Hillsborough County for years.
Absolutely. Now, we also had Danny Alvarez, Representative Danny Alvarez, who was very concerned. He said if there are people that are telling you that you should not have more access to your representation, that is a warning sign. And I believe that he is absolutely correct. We need to make sure that we are able to have these communications and conversations with our representation.
And this really isn't, it's not growing of government because we have our census and we base our representatives in Congress based off of what the census tells us our population is. It's just doing that on a smaller version really here in Florida.
Absolutely. More representation is good.
Yeah.
And for our viewers, here's why this matters to you, right? These aren't abstract debates.
Right.
They are determining who runs your schools and who represents your neighborhood and how accountable our local government really is.
Absolutely, Allie. If you live in Hillsborough County, your vote matters, not just in elections, but in the way the system is built. These bills pull back the curtain on governance itself.
And it puts you in the driver's seat,
Absolutely.
puts the power back in your hands. We'll keep tracking both bills through the 2026 session, and we'll let you know when these referendums hit the ballot. For now, teachers and parents are watching, commissioners and districts are preparing, and Florida families should always stay informed.
Absolutely.
All right, now turning to education, the new Schools of Hope law is causing upheaval. Charter Network, Matter Academy, has requested space in more than 30 public school campuses under the law, which allows charters free use of under-enrolled district facilities.
Yeah, and superintendents are speaking out, especially in high-performing counties who feel their campuses are being targeted.
For parents, this is about choice. For districts, it's about protection of public assets and ensuring taxpayer-funded schools aren't sidelined.
And the chapter writes itself, really, school choice victory for families, but also red flags around accountability and resource shifts.
Yes, there are several school board members I've spoken to that are a little worried about that.
Well, and let's be honest, public schools are public schools because they're funded by you, the taxpayer. So the question I pose to our viewers, and we'd like for you to comment here below, if you're paying tax dollars to fund education, is it more important to you that that education is under the guise of public education, or is it more important to you that those funds go directly to students? Because students are students whether they attend public school, charter school, or private school, or homeschool. Now, I do understand part of the issue here is that, look, our tax dollars are supporting these public schools, and now this charter company, this charter school is allowed to come in and not have to share the cost or burden of that. I do understand that argument, but this is going to be a fun one to watch because the public has spoken out largely. Now, on the oversight front, Florida CFO Blaise Ingoglia revealed that Manatee County, whoa, buckle up, overspent by $112 million in 2025, according to the state's Department of Government Efficiency audits. Wow.
He said the county could have cut property tax rates by 1.09 mils and still delivered services. Money going to government growth, not taxpayers. Ooh.
And in a related review, Ingoglia flagged Miami for excess spending of $94 million per year, one of Florida's worst budget bulges. Wow.
This is Florida enforcing accountability, not just saying it. Local governments must explain their spending or face scrutiny.
That's right. From regulation relief to digital danger, from school board standards to county budget reform, Florida's moving forward with a purpose, and we are watching it all the way.
That's your political pulse for this week. And now let's go to Cam in the moment.
Thank you, Allie and Michelle. And guys, welcome back to Cam in the Moment right here on Coastal Conservative News. My name is Camden, and here are your week's biggest moments coming up. All right, guys, welcome back to the segment here. It's going to be a little bit different today because I don't know if you've seen what has gone on in the last week or so with the No Kings protests. But even here locally, Sarasota, Bradenton, Manatee County, Sarasota County, there has been some crazy things that we kind of have to talk about. It's gotten too far for us in our communities to not just blossom over this. So I wanted to really make a statement here and talk about exactly what I saw here locally. I mean, I didn't go in person, but I did see people from Sarasota and Manatee County, some of my friends that attended as Trump supporters, but attended to see what was going on, and it's getting pretty nasty here. So just to start off, we're going to talk about the 8647. I don't know if you've seen this stuff, but before I show you what the No Kings protest was, I don't know if you've seen James Comey, the former director of the FBI, posted the shell formation 8647, which is code for take out Trump. 47 is the president, 86 is a code for take out. So he posted that and got a lot of flack on social media, but now we're seeing here locally, look at this post right here. 8647. 86 Trump and ICE. People are calling out Trump and ICE right here in our areas, saying to take them out. Like, where have we gotten where we can't disagree anymore without calling on this kind of violence and stuff? So it's crazy. But what is going on with the No Kings protests? What is going on here locally? What we saw was millions of people, and they actually showed clips of Trump's inauguration accidentally on some of the news organizations saying it was the No Kings protest. But what we saw locally was a couple thousand people with no idea what they're protesting. They have no idea what they're rioting against and protesting against. They're saying no kings, but we haven't had a king here in this country at all, ever. So congratulations, I guess it worked. But to be calling for the assassination, basically, of President Trump is pretty crazy. The sitting president of the United States and the law enforcement officers who are trying to keep the city safe. I know if you guys are watching this, you probably have seen a lot of the anti-ICE. We've seen over 1,000% increase in ICE violence against ICE officers. It's just getting out of control. This is in Sarasota too. ICE should be crushed. No crown for a Nazi clown with a chain around President Trump's neck. We have to call out the stuff that's happening right here. I know you guys have heard the saying, local action equals national impact. And so if anything's going to change nationally, it needs to start right here in our counties. I mean, they said the second coming of Hitler. Just so many awful things going on. And that's just one part of this. So I had to bring that to your attention before we get any further. But what I really am not happy about is what the children that are being involved with some of this stuff. Because if you have children, you know how important it is to be a parent and how important it is where your child goes to school. Those are the two biggest things for having kids, right? And I don't even have kids, but I have 5 siblings, so I've seen the impacts of my parents on me and us, and then I've seen the impact of the school system. But some of these parents that attended these protests are essentially grooming their children into this mindset and into these things that we don't need to be teaching kids. Look at this image. Everyone welcome. The message, sounds innocent, but then you look at the messaging on the sign, and you're seeing the pride flag and the transgender flag as a kid holds it. They shouldn't even know what transgender means. It's awful. And so the impact of parents right here is where this all starts. The impact of our families in our houses needs to happen before you look at any news network, before you let your children go to any school or even church for that matter. Parents have to be parents. Nothing else can parent your kids. I want to make that really clear. No pastor, no teacher can be the parents of your kids. And that's why school board is so important right now. Because as you know, November 2026, we're going to have more elections coming up, the midterms, and there will be some school board seats opening. One of our own, we know people here that are running. So it's really amazing. One of our own here on Coastal Conservative News is running for school board in Sarasota County, Michelle Posey. So we see that when you have the wrong people in these school boards as the members and directors, they can indoctrinate your children. And it's just making me kind of upset now because I've seen things go from my siblings seeing things that they shouldn't be seeing in school even in the free state of Florida. You know, we think of California or New York as these liberal states that have all this indoctrination, but it's happening even where we're living. So school board is where it starts. But this was also at the No Kings protests, and you know what else was? A furry outbreak. That sounds ridiculous, but I'm not even kidding. We saw people in Sarasota County dressed up as, I don't even know what they're trying to say anymore, but as crabs, as, this is ridiculous, as like flamingos, as unicorns, as chickens. What are they doing? I don't understand what's going on anymore. It's like they've gotten so far that they don't even know what they're doing. They've gone so far against Trump that they're just showing up to be against him. And I don't know what the animals have to do with it, but it just makes them look even more ridiculous. So, I mean, one of them says, this lady's dressed as a chicken and has a sign that says, Republicans starve the kids and kill the sick. What are you talking about? Like, what are you actually talking about? Because from what I'm seeing, the Democrats are the ones voting to keep the government shut down, which, if you didn't know this, Meals on Wheels, certain portions of Meals on Wheels are funded by that, and when the government is shut down, they can't function like they usually do. And some people, especially elderly, live off of stuff like that with meals. So, as far as I see, Democrats are the ones who are starving people, and what they're trying to do is use this government shutdown to be, I think it's personally going to be some kind of campaign thing to use in 2026, but it's going to backfire because 55 Republicans and one or two Democrats, by the way, which John Fetterman is one who I credit, are voting to open it. But then you have 45 Democrats and a few Republicans voting to keep it shut down. This impacts your local area too. I don't know if you know that. It's not just the Washington, D.C. that gets affected by this. So when they say Republicans starve kids and people and kill the sick, I don't think so. They're trying to fund Medicaid for illegal immigrants, which takes away the Medicaid that was designed for sick and disabled people, the elderly, and pregnant women. So all the things are completely contradictory to what their message is. It's really funny, actually. It's ironic that they use the messaging that's everything against their own party. And so I'm starting to see this locally, and that's why we have to stand up as citizens in our counties to make sure that this stuff gets pushed out of our area. Because as long as we are still fighting, there's still a chance for my generation, for my kids, and my kids' kids. As long as we're still fighting to keep the truth at the center, there's still a chance. All right, guys, I want to go into our good news, wholesome moment of the week. Something that you might not hear a lot of Republicans say, and especially not a lot of Democrats say, is this right here. Former President Biden has finished his cancer radiation treatment and rung the bell. And I just want to say, congratulations, that's amazing. But with the era of politics we're in, if this were reversed, if Trump were in this position, Democrats would be celebrating. The left would be celebrating. And not everyone, not all of the people on the left would be celebrating, but a lot of them were, as we saw with Charlie Kirk. But I want to especially take just a few moments here and say, this is a good thing. This is a good thing that a former president is now cancer-free, and we need to have some humanity as human beings that are created in the image of God to say, wow, look how far our political world has gone that we have to celebrate sickness and death of others. That's where we draw the line. It's God versus godless now, in my opinion. I think it's more than right versus left, even in our communities. It's not right versus left. It's not even in politics. It's God versus godless and good versus evil. So I encourage you today to stay on the side of good, of truth, and of God. And if you don't know God, just go to a church. Read the Bible. Take one small step of action, and God will take 10 steps back towards you. I know it's a little bit off of what we usually talk about here, but I did want to mention it. It's going on. And we need to just be humans again, because it looks like we're not anymore. So thank you guys for coming to this segment. A little bit different because I kind of just went off of my mind recently with this stuff going on. But I know you guys are feeling the same way. So make sure you tune in to Coastal Conservative News every Friday, because we got whole shows of good information. Not just me, not just we have all these hosts of great stuff. So make sure you're following us on all platforms. And follow me on my platform at Camden Trey B. And I'll see you guys next week on Cam in the Moment. See ya.
Thank you, Camden, for exposing the truth and showing the harmful threats right here in Florida. We're going to go to a commercial break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more CCN after this.
They call masculinity toxic, but the truth is, God calls it sacred. My name is Camden Bettinghouse, and I've seen how the world takes what God meant for us as men and turn it into this thing called toxic masculinity. I wrote Fearless Masculinity because my generation's been lied to. You know, we've been told to sit down, stay quiet, and apologize for being men. This world doesn't need weaker men. It needs men who are willing to stand up and become fearless. Men who protect their families, serve their communities, and live without fear. Fearless Masculinity is a roadmap to discover who God truly made you to be as a man. It's about rediscovering purpose, building courage, and stepping into who God truly calls you to be. If you're tired of being called toxic just for being a man, and you're tired of shrinking back, tired of silence, this book is for you. Are you ready to step up? If you are, go to CamdenBettinghouse.com to get more information and become a fearless man of God.
Welcome back to Coastal Conservative News. We will now go to this week's Faith in Focus with Kevin Campbell.
Welcome to Faith in Focus. Today we're diving into a topic that has fascinated humanity for centuries. Is there evidence for a soul that transcends the physical brain? Recent insights from neuroscience, particularly from renowned neurosurgeon Dr. Michael Egner, suggest that the answer may lean toward a yes. Even more compelling, near-death experiences, or NDEs, are providing modern experimental evidence that challenges materialist views of consciousness. Let's explore how science and faith converge to point toward the existence of an immortal soul. For centuries, many scientists have argued that we are nothing more than our physical brains, cells, tissue, and electrical signals that define who we are. But Dr. Michael Egner, a neurosurgeon with over 40 years of experience and more than 7,000 brain surgeries under his belt, challenges this view. In his book, The Immortal Mind, A Neurosurgeon's Case for the Existence of the Soul, co-authored by Denise O'Leary, Dr. Egner argues that the human mind is more than the brain. He proposes that the soul, a spiritual immaterial essence, transcends our physical bodies. So what led to Dr. Egner to this conclusion? Early in his career, he was a committed atheist, believing science could explain everything, including consciousness. But his experiences in the operating room began to shift his perspective. He encountered patients with significant brain damage or missing large portions of their brains, who still retained their ability to think, reason, and maintain their sense of self. For example, he describes patients with half their brains removed who were still really fine, defying textbook explanations of how the brain supposedly accounts for the mind. This led him to question the materialist view that the mind is merely a product of brain activity. He began to explore Thomistic dualism, a philosophy rooted in the teachings of Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas, which posits that the irrational soul, or capacity for abstract thought and free will, is immaterial and distinct from the body. Dr. Egner argues that while the brain controls bodily functions and processes sensory input, it cannot fully account for our ability to reason or make free choices, i.e. free will. One of the most compelling lines of evidence for the soul comes from near-death experiences, or NDEs. Dr. Egner defines an NDE as a lucid mental episode occurring during clinical death, typically after cardiac arrest when the brain activity flatlines. Survivors often report vivid experiences, leaving their bodies, observing the operating room, traveling through a tunnel or light, or meeting deceased loved ones. These accounts aren't rare. Tens of millions of NDEs have been documented across history, with specialized journals now analyzing them scientifically. A standout case is that of Pam Reynolds, which Dr. Egner calls the gold standard for verified NDEs. In 1991, Reynolds underwent a complex brain surgery to repair a life-threatening aneurysm. To perform the procedure, her surgical team cooled her body to a 50 degrees Fahrenheit, stopped her heart, drained the blood from her brain, and used EEG monitors to confirm no brain activity. She was clinically dead. Yet when revived, Reynolds described the exact shape of a specialized bone saw used in the surgery, a detail she couldn't have known, and overheard conversations in the operating room despite her ears being blocked with devices emitting loud clicks to monitor the brain activity. She also recounted a transcendent experience, traveling through a tunnel and meeting deceased relatives, which she described as more real than life itself. What makes cases like Pam's so striking is their veridical elements, details later confirmed by medical records or witnesses. Dr. Egner points out that roughly 1 in 5 modern NDE reports contain such verifiable details. For example, some patients see deceased relatives they didn't know had died, only to later confirm their passing. These experiences suggest that consciousness can persist when the brain is offline, challenging the idea that the mind is solely a product of brain activity. Materialist critics often attribute NDEs to physical causes like oxygen deprivation, endorphins, or seizures. But Dr. Egner counters that these conditions typically produce confusion or hazy imagery, not the vivid, coherent, and life-altering clarity of NDEs. He compares NDEs to the dark night of the soul, described by mystics like St. John of the Cross, where the silencing of ordinary brain activity allows a deeper spiritual reality to emerge. This aligns with his broader argument. The soul's rational aspects, like abstract thought and free will, are immaterial and cannot disintegrate like physical matter. He uses the analogy of the number 8, an abstract concept that exists independently of physical representation. Similarly, our capacity for reason and choice suggests a spiritual soul that persists beyond bodily death. The transformative impact of NDEs further supports this view. People who experience them often lose their fear of death, reorder their priorities, and develop a sharper ethical focus. Dr. Egner sees this as evidence that life is, quote, a preparation for a life that goes on and I think is eternal, end quote. These changes aren't just psychological, they point to an encounter with something profound and real. Dr. Egner's work doesn't stand alone. Other researchers like psychiatrist Bruce Grayson, author of After, and cardiologist Pim Van Lommel, author of Consciousness Beyond Life, have documented similar patterns in NDEs, reinforcing the idea that consciousness may not be confirmed to the brain. Even skeptics are beginning to take notice, as the growing body of verified NDE accounts challenge the materialist paradigm. For those of us exploring faith, these findings resonate deeply. The idea of an immortal soul aligns with the Judeo-Christian belief that we are more than just our bodies, created with a purpose that extends beyond this life. Dr. Egner's journey from atheism to faith, sparked by a profound spiritual experience during a family crisis, reminds us that science and faith aren't at odds. They can point to the same truth. So what does this mean for us? It suggests that the soul isn't just a poetic idea, but a reality supported by modern neuroscience and experiences like NDEs. It invites us to consider that our choices, our reasoning, and our encounters with the divine are part of something eternal. As Dr. Egner puts it, the purpose of good science is to follow the evidence where it leads. And the evidence is increasingly pointing toward the existence of a soul that transcends the physical brain. That's all for today's Faith in Focus. If you're intrigued by this topic, I highly recommend checking out Dr. Michael Egner's book, The Immortal Mind. God bless.
Thank you, Kevin. This is some pretty strong evidence that a spiritual realm does exist outside of our brain. That's pretty amazing.
Fantastic information.
Yeah.
From insurance savings to child safety crackdowns, from oversight audits to school choice upheaval, Florida is moving forward.
That's right, and it's happening because conservative leadership isn't rhetoric. It's actually results.
Thank goodness for that. We'll keep pressing for answers, tracking the dollars, and standing up for Florida families. For Coastal Conservative News, I'm Allie Leger. We'll see you next week at 7 p.m. right here on CCN.
Absolutely, and I'm Michelle Posey. We're proud to stand with you for the free state of Florida, where bold ideas become bold action. Stay strong, stay free, and as always, God bless you and the great state of Florida. Good night.